Hello everyone, this is the Sports Spiral, and in today's video I'm going to have a look at the wild card games for the NFL playoffs, which are starting, but the college football playoffs have concluded, so I need to have a look at that first. It was an absolute blowout. Georgia won 65-7, most points they've scored our season, and yeah, just Georgia is a really dominant team, more dominant than Alabama, in my opinion. Even Alabama, when they were at their prime, they weren't quite this dominant, winning like 65-7. So that's pretty crazy. Stetson Bennett, a bit of a controversial quarterback early on, but he's really proved himself as a game-winning quarterback and really brought that offense to a high level, and the defense played great as well. But the highlight here is really that TCU just couldn't do anything. The underdogs, the underfrogs, they just couldn't do much of anything against Georgia. So it's like that, especially their defense. I mean, scoring 7, I mean, that's not good, but allowing 65 is atrocious. So that the defenses in the Big 12, except for maybe like Baylor and Iowa State, generally suffer. So, yeah, sometimes it is questionable whether the Big 12 is enough to be like a Power 5 conference. So, I went 185-67 this season, and here's a preview at next season. I kind of put this in a bit of a tier list, guessing how teams are going to perform next year. So at the top, those are the playoff powers. These teams have made the playoffs in recent years. They've proved they're pretty good. We got Georgia. Beck will be their quarterback next year. He's supposed to be good, but I don't know if he'll have the game-winning skills that Stetson Bennett does. But no reason that Georgia will go away now. Ohio State, they always keep themselves in it, they're powered. They keep themselves in year after year. Quarterback doesn't matter, they recycle. Same with Alabama. Not the best season for them this year, but I just feel like they were able to recycle power so well there. And Michigan, well, we'll see what happens with Jim Harbaugh if he moves into the NFL. I don't think he should after losing to TCU. It's not going to be very good. But we will see what becomes of Jim Harbaugh and Michigan. And then the contenders for this year. These teams, they're really on the rise, and they have a good shot at next year, but they're not necessarily, already in, and they haven't really seen the playoff too much in recent years. So we've got USC. They definitely have a chance. They need the defense to improve. Williams is coming back. They need to take advantage. We'll see what Lincoln Riley can do there. And then Oregon with Bo Nix returning, another Pac-12 team there, should have a shot, but I think their defense needs to improve as well. So defense is a bit of a problem in the Pac-12 as well. Tennessee, Milton looked really good, and I think he's returning next year, so Tennessee should be able to maintain a rise to potential playoff here. Utah Rising will return as well, so lots of these big name quarterbacks in the Pac-12 returning, so Utah should look pretty good next year as well. TCU, I think they're going to downgrade. It's just hard to maintain an underdog season like that. It's a great season for TCU. We'll see if they can get in the playoff next year. I'll be pretty convinced that they're good, but just 1 year almost seems a little too much like a fluke. Penn State, they've been playing well. I think Sean Clifford is moving on, but they've got some talented running backs there. They should definitely be in the mix. FSU with Clemson taking the fall, they've been rising up and should be able to, go take the ACC. And then LSU, good. They blew out Purdue 63-7. They seem like the real deal. Same with Washington, who I think Penix is returning as well for Washington. And then next up, it's the consistent top 25 teams. These are teams, they're going to be week after week they're going to be in the top 25. They might not have a good shot at the playoff, but they're going to be a consistent top 25 team. So we've got Clemson, who they are picking up offensive coordinator Garrett Riley, who is Lincoln Riley's brother. It's moving there from TCU. So we'll see if that delivers a bit of a spark for Clemson, because they certainly need it. And then Kansas State, they had a good year this year, a pretty good program over there, but they just don't quite have enough to get into the playoff. Texas, I don't know what Arch Manning is doing with Texas. They kind of have a bit of a quarterback situation there. So we'll see what becomes of Texas, but they haven't necessarily proved that they're a contender quite yet. Oregon State, they're going to get Uiagalelei, so maybe a better quarterback for them will help them out. They're another good team in the Pac-12. Notre Dame's on the rise. South Carolina's been playing really good recently. And Tulane with a win versus USC. They definitely are showing their talents there. And then contenders for the top 25. These teams may get into the top 25, but they're definitely going to have to work hard to get into it. And for all these teams, I kind of picked the notable teams that have stuff going on and added a few others. So Oklahoma, second year for Venables. Not a great first season, not that bad, but not a great first season, but I think they should be able to make maybe, well, I forgot that they're moving to the SEC, so maybe they won't be able to go into the top 25, but I think the SEC thing is happening this next season, but I will update on that. Colorado, this is one of the notable teams with Deion Sanders moving there. They definitely have a shot at the top 25, but no, they're not going to make the playoffs or something like that. It's just too far-fetched for them to make the playoffs or anything like that. Wisconsin, Luke Fickell heading over there, hopefully can provide a needed spark to that program and get them into the top 25. Texas A&M, it's a really rough year for them last year, but I feel like they could really bounce back this year. If the last year was a fluke or something, they can prove that this season, and they could even they technically could make a spot, contend for the playoff, since they've got such good recruiting. We'll see what happens with Texas A&M. Ole Miss, not a great end to the season for them, so I'm not putting them in consistent top 25, but they were 7th early in midway through the season, but they fell off after that, so they will try and rebound. North Carolina with Drake May, they should be able to contend for the top 25, but I don't think that team is quite consistent enough to stay there. And then Iowa will be getting McNamara as their quarterback. So see if Iowa can finally get a little offense. That if Iowa gets a good offense, they are dangerous because they have a very good defense historically. So maybe Iowa had a shot at the top 25. And then average, these teams are going to be 7-5, 6-6. They're not going to quite make it into the top 25. They're a tier down from the last one. We have the Florida Gators, and I can't see them making too much of a ride after last year with Billy Napier after lackluster season, and they're in such a good conference in the SEC, so it's going to be very hard to improve. Same with Auburn. They're getting Hugh Freeze as their coach, and it's a tough situation for a rebuild in the SEC since so many good teams there. And Miami Hurricanes, Cristobal, not a good season there. No hope really for Miami. We will see what happens with Miami, but like the other two teams, no indication that they are ready to take the next step, but they still have a chance. And then for NFL Week 18, I did pretty good here, 12-4 in this week, and on the season, regular season, I am 173, 96 and 2. A few notable games. Dallas lost to Washington. Dallas certainly in danger a little bit. They made the playoff, but they've got a bit of a target on their backs. And then the Lions beat the Packers to keep them out of the playoffs, and the Seahawks are that last team to get in. Jaguars get it done. They're in. So, yeah, that was week 18 here. It's the wild card, which is starting today on Saturday. We have the 49ers going against the Seahawks. I think it's a rainy game, so it's not going to be high scoring. Brock Purdy has just done such an excellent job for the 49ers. Same with Geno Smith for the Seahawks. Two unexpectedly great quarterbacks in this one. I expect the 49ers defense to play good in this one, and I think that's the key to victory here for the 49ers. The Chargers going against the Jaguars should be kind of high scoring. We've got two really good quarterbacks in Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. A really impressive season from the Jaguars to go from worst to, top 15 or so. So I think the Chargers get this done because the Jaguars blew them out earlier in the season, and I feel like it can be not a measure of revenge, but more of like a redemption for the Chargers. Chargers kind of need this, Staley, the coach, kind of needs this playoff win. That's really important for the Chargers, but it would be amazing if the Jaguars could move on as well and continue the impressive season. And then the Bills, they're going against the Dolphins, who I don't think can do much. Skylar Thompson, the rookie, is their quarterback. I think he's a rookie at least, but he's their quarterback, so shouldn't be able to do much versus Buffalo, who's a really good team. So I've got Buffalo by 17 in that one. The Vikings versus Giants. This could be a good game. Daniel Jones has done a great job with the Giants. Same with Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. So this can be a close game, but I think the Vikings are going to get it done. They've just got the better receiving core with Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson, Thielen. They've just got a nice receiving core there. And then Bengals should be able to outlast Baltimore. Baltimore seems like, I don't know who's going to start for them, but Lamar Jackson's out. Huntley may be able to play, but Brown, I think it's the third string. So it's kind of like the fall of the Ravens here, and Lamar Jackson's future in the NFL in jeopardy with this injury. So we will see what becomes of that, but the Bengals have an excellent chance to move on. And then the Cowboys going against the Buccaneers, certainly an interesting game here. Dak Prescott's not played well this season. So many interceptions from him and not too many games. Tom Brady, he's been decent. He just hasn't been spectacular. He has a chance to prove everyone wrong once again in the playoffs and win this game and move on. So it will be very interesting to see what happens with Tom Brady and Tampa Bay. The Cowboys, they have that target on their backs though, so they may, have that chip on their shoulder mentality and want to move on. We'll see what becomes of that. But some excellent wild card games and storylines. So that's going to do it for this video. Please make sure to subscribe and like. And this is the Sports Spiral. Bye.